A very good morning and many thanks for staying with us right here on the #1 breakfast show in the country, Morning at NTV. A very good morning to you, Mr. Tourist X and Y, who are watching us from Dubai, from the United States of America, from Russia, yes I see, from China. And you are adamant to come to Uganda simply because you had some news stories about what is happening at the airport. We are spending too much time clearing tourists. I would like to tell you that that is something for the past. They told us there was just a glitch, a online payment glitch. So make your way to our country, Uganda. Yes, we need to show you around the beautiful sceneries within our country. We need all these stories coming into Uganda to ensure that we show you how beautiful the Pearl of Africa is. The situation at the airport was resolved. Make your way to Uganda and visit sites like the Rushaga Gorilla Camp in Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. You won't be disappointed. And also Bunyonyi Overland on Lake Bunyonyi. That is in Kabale. Please come over. These are some of the jurisdictions you can enjoy right here in Uganda. And away from that, also grab yourself a cup of Inspire Africa coffee. And if you want to continue with your learning, there's an app. You listen. You do not need a teacher. You do not need a parent within your midst. Just some data. And that's where we call on to the government to remove the 12% data because it's suffocating the ability of many individuals to clamor for these technological advancements so that they could continue with their learning. Let's talk about yes, data protection. Our company's floating laws on data protection. Data is the new gold, and global firms are in a rush to see who controls the most of it as a way of accessing advertising revenue. To speak to us about this and more, we have Alan Sempala Chigozi, the legal advisor at Unwanted Witness, and also Becca Birukuja. He is a licensing manager at Data Protection Office, and they both join me right now within the studio. Very good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Let me start with you, Alan. You are running or hosting a data and privacy symposium that is this Friday with the government.
Sure.
Why are you doing this?
Now, we put together this platform to essentially discuss issues data protection. Not so many people are privy to what's going on.
Indeed.
A lot of organizations are collecting personal data. Now, I can hardly think of any organization in any sector that can operate without personal data. Like you've mentioned, data is the new gold. Okay? Now, you see, data, if not refined, I think it was Clive Roberts Blamy, OBE, is a mathematician and an entrepreneur who said, he denoted in 2006, he said that, you see, with data, it's like crude oil. If not refined, it won't be useful. Okay? So, as you collect it, what companies do, they process it for it to be useful. That's how it becomes the new gold, the oil. And then they sell it and get revenue. Not necessarily selling it. Some do, yeah, but some others use it for more other benefits. The economic
Give us
forum,
live examples.
the economic forum. Yeah. The economic forum recently announced that personal data is the new asset class. You see why they call it? They called it the new asset class is that you see with personal data, if it's refined, in a way it helps to add value to your company as an organization, but it also adds value to the services you give. So you have to process it. So the commercial benefit of personal data in a way of processing it, storing it, and all that stuff, in a way it infringes on the privacy of someone. I see. So what we are doing with the privacy
because I didn't give leeway to this organization or company.
Yes. What why we are holding this third privacy symposium is to discuss issues data protection. How should we shape the practice of data protection? Many are collecting data, even data they don't need. Okay, but also many are collecting data. They tell you, I'm collecting your phone number, I'm collecting your name, but after getting onto their platform, they're actually even collecting your location.
I see.
You get it? So our issue is, if you must collect that data, you also must protect it. Because we live in a world where, you see, you have no say whether your data will be collected or not. You get it? Because look here, Romeo, you need a SIM card. So to get a SIM card, you have to part with personal data. You need a national ID. You have to part with that. You need a social service. You need to part with your privacy. So whoever has to collect that data, yeah, you should protect it. You need to, you need that convenience of ordering food online and they bring it in your convenience. So whoever has to collect your data to give you a service, to give you that convenience, to give you that happiness,
I see.
the others even date online, you know.
Yes. Go ahead.
They need to protect their data. They need to be transparent. You get it? If you say you're collecting only my phone number and my name, for instance, excuse me, and then I find out that, look here, actually even collect my marital status, you collect my raw GPS data, that might bring trust issues. Because with business, it's trust.
Like how are they using this information to collect revenue, advertising revenue?
Now, there is something interesting about the symposium. On the last day of the symposium, on Friday, we are launching the Privacy Scorecard.
Okay.
Now, this is a report that is assessing 32 biggest data collectors in Uganda, okay? How they are compliant with the law. Now, let me tell you one of the findings of that report, just a small snippet into the report. I need to read it, yes. Now, many of these guys on their websites, you log on to there and leave your personal data on there.
I see.
Now, we've noticed that these websites transfer that data to online advertisers.
Okay.
You get my point?
Yes, yes.
Now, it speaks of transparency.
They are mining your data.
Exactly. You get it? They are sending it to online advertisers. Alphabet, call it Google, and Facebook. Now, why is it so? In the process of collecting in the process of collecting this information, did you tell Romeo that, look, I'm giving you a cheap service, I'm giving you a cheap ride here, but your information eventually will go to Facebook and Google?
I see.
So we need to understand, we need transparency. Is there a contract between them and the online advertisers? What is the consideration?
Is there any correlation with the issue that took center stage with Cambridge Analytica selling information of potential voters to Mr. Donald Trump and some of these teams?
No,
they come to Romeo's page, they know, okay, Romeo has some conservative values, and they're like, okay, Donald Trump, this is someone you could target with your campaigns. Is that what we are talking about, selling of personal data?
Yes, analytical companies. Now, Cambridge Analytica was dissolved and left, but many other companies, such as Cambridge Analytica, came up. So many of those directors of Cambridge Analytica actually came up and started new companies. They do analytics, you get it? So what we want is that we're not saying you shouldn't collect data, or corporate companies or private entities, or whoever collects data. You don't have to stop collecting, because this is how your business works. But as you're collecting, be transparent, be truthful, be fair. Tell Romeo, I'm giving your data to an analytics company and it's going to do ABCD. If you don't tell Romeo and he finds out, it's an issue of trust, because business deals with trust. If you don't trust a business, you don't give them business. So once your customers realize that, look, this person is not trustworthy, is not transparent with my personal data, it may speak to. So this report is revealing many of those things. How compliant are these different 32 companies in 7 different sectors? Now, banks, insurance companies, you should look out for this report.
Indeed.
How they transfer data to third parties they don't even tell you.
I hear you. Alan Sempala Chigozi, he is a legal advisor at Unwanted Witness. We have also Beka Bidukuje. He is actually a licensing manager at Personal Data Protection Office. A very good morning once again, Beka Bidukuje. We did talk online during the Digital Security Conference on Friday. Largely, you were letting us in on what data protection is and privacy and so forth. Largely, we are here on Morning at NTV. Let's kick it off. What is data protection? What do we have to know about data protection or privacy?
Okay, thank you, Romeo, and good morning, viewers. Data protection, it's a law that's about personal data, its regulation, the collecting of it, use. So when someone possibly hears data, you know, they may wonder, is it about my MBs? Is it about the one of the internet? No, we're not talking about that data.
All right.
Rather, the data that we're talking about here is information that can identify you as an individual. So if someone is able to tell that from this information that I have before me, it relates to Baker and not Romeo. So this could be the contact details, of course, starting with your name, the email address, but also where you stay, the location data, because you know it picks up which is specific to your phone. Information about your academic qualifications, but even disciplinary actions in case any are taken. But also this information can be what we call special personal data. Now, it's special because it should carry higher safeguards. In case it is misused, then it can bring about a higher risk to you. This includes financial information, your account number, account balance, then medical data, your political opinion, religious beliefs. So the law is not stopping anyone from collecting this information. Because as we know, information, specifically data, is the new gold.
Indeed.
So it's just talking about how you should collect it legally, the transparency that Alan has been talking about, but then also how you should use it. Because beyond the collection, because we all know this information is needed by companies to be able to understand you, to give you a service, but then also government to be able to make it easier for you, the way we're going e-government.
But instead, they might find out, okay, Romeo Busiku is a conservative, Romeo Busiku is allied to political party X, so they look for these politicians from this party, and then they give them this information, so that they can target me later on.
Yes, they can
maybe
do
during
that.
campaigns.
They can do that. However, all the law is saying is that when you're collecting this information, there are grounds, what we call the legal grounds that you should base on.
What are those grounds?
Number one is that you should it's either or, known that all should be used at the same time, obtain consent. And this consent comes usually from transparency, letting the person know this is what I would like to collect from you, this is what I'm going to use it for, and with whom I may share it with. So if you are surprised or taken aback and say, but wait a minute, why would the hospital need my political opinion? Then you withhold the consent, and
you can only know that if you actually read. We are getting information that our citizens do not read.
We understand.
Like there will be that disclaimer, accept or decline.
No,
Many people just go to accept. We want to get your information, they won't read. What kind of information? They just say accept, because you want to get
the
get over with
right away.
Yes.
We understand that. And that's why we are talking about, yesterday we had a training, training various entities, and they're telling them, we know, most of them do not really read.
Indeed.
It's full of legal jargon, it's too long, small font, or because, CCTV camera also collects your information.
Indeed.
Some of these cameras actually collect your audio, the conversations, but people are not aware. But if I walk into a place...
The camera at my home, or these public premises?
Some of them, because it varies with what the person decides.
I see.
You can say, well, I need a CCTV camera to just pick images. Another would want to pick images and audio. But you see, that is only known by the person who has installed them.
Indeed.
In the premises. So you walk into a building, and before you know it, your private conversations are being picked up. So all we are saying is that let people know. But the trick would be, or the difficult bit, how would you relay a privacy notice for a CCTV camera? Imagine you're in a building, you're walking through, maybe you won't get where to sit,
you're on the phone,
you won't have time, you're on the phone. So we're telling these companies to also innovate in the relation of this information. You can use standardized icons. You let people know you're under CCTV camera surveillance. It is 24/7, it's picking this. However, if you need to get more information, about how long it's kept, with whom it's shared, probably you can have something that you can scan to get the information. So those ways, so we are telling companies, yes, you can collect this information. I was talking about one of the grounds legal. The other for government could be based on a requirement, for government to be able, I'll give an example nearer, they cannot issue that national ID, because legally they are supposed to issue out these cards. So based on that legal requirement, that law that establishes them, now they should be able to collect that information, amongst others, to provide the contract, because let me say companies delivering food to you or a product. Now, they cannot in any way deliver it if they don't know where you are. Is that so?
Say, Becca Berukuje, cognizant that my information is being misused, where do I report to?
That is a very good question. So, misuse, the first question is, how can you tell that it is misused?
Indeed.
So, one of the ways that it can be misused, number one, is that if the information that you actually gave them was changed in a way that you cannot even relate with. Possibly if it's an account number, the account number, it's changed because that's also your information, and possibly that money is wired to another person.
I see.
Or still, you go somewhere, you need to get a service, or you need to be admitted to a school, let me say, for students. but as you know, probably your name is misspelled. So the first point, those are some of the examples of misuse, is that bring it to the attention of the person who gave the information. Try to reach out to them. But if they fail, then you can make a complaint to us as the Personal Data Protection Office. We have a website where you can lodge your complaint, www.pdpo.go.ug. We have on your right-hand side, there is a place for complaints. You fill in your details. We'll get in touch with you, or if you do not have access to internet, we have numbers where you can call in and we take your details to investigate. But even more so, we are aware in the generation we're in, you can also send a WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp number. Those are some of the ways through which you can complain. All
right, there is Baker Bidikuja. He is the Manager Licensing and Legal Affairs at the Personal Data Protection Office. Well, we also do have Alan Chigozi Sempala. He is a legal advisor with Unwanted Witness. Alan, in Uganda, we mostly rely on international firms for communication. How does this endanger us? You do have government employees that are using Gmail for communication. How is that detrimental to our country as far as personal data protection is concerned?
Now, it can be scary if that information that you feed with those companies, those international communication companies, is stored in a jurisdiction that doesn't have a data protection law or a data protection authority. Now, from the report we are launching on Friday, we show you where many of these companies actually store their data. From the report, it is observed that much of the data is stored in China and USA.
China.
And USA. Now, the most interesting thing is the data that is collected or stored in China. You see, China yesterday just rolled out its data protection law. But like someone yesterday noted, we're having a training, and they said their law is Chinese. Yeah, I don't know if you know what that means, Chinese.
Of course, this is a country that is expediting state surveillance. On the streets, you have cameras that are monitoring individuals on the streets, getting their images, getting their facial recognition, getting their audio. I mean, what kind of personal data protection could they have?
I had a chance to look at the Chinese.
A watered-down version.
I had a chance to look at the Chinese data protection law, but it's not in any way close to even the GDPR or any of the regular data protection laws. But to answer your question, it's very important for those companies to be very careful, or whoever uses those platforms. Okay, that data should be stored in countries that have a law. If they're stored in a country that is not protected with the data protection legislation or with authority, then problems of misuse of that data arise. Again, in that report, we assessed the most used apps in Uganda. Now, the very interesting thing is, one of the most used apps in Uganda is the King James Bible.
I see.
The King James Bible, that app, has over 15 trackers.
15 trackers.
It has over 45 permissions. Why would a reading app require 45 permissions to your pictures, social media, and all that?
Why the company is mining all your data.
Exactly. It has profiling trackers. It has location trackers. It has advertising trackers. A Bible app.
So they are thinking, since I'm looking for biblical verses, I'm naive, so they will get these other companies on the go, ready to just mine my data.
Exactly. Now, it stores its data in Hong Kong.
I see.
The company is registered in Maldives.
I see.
So you get it. So it's not only these international communication companies, it's even the apps we use. But even some of these companies, I think this is where the Data Protection Office will come in to help us and regulate many of these communication companies that store. But good enough. At least the communication companies we have, much of their data is stored on their servers in Uganda. Like I'll confidently say, MTN. they have their data stored on their servers in Uganda.
I see.
The report revealed that. You should look out for that report. It's coming out on Friday.
You share with me tentatively before even Friday.
So,
I need to be sharing for my viewers.
But to answer your question, definitely it endangers your privacy. It endangers your privacy if any company is storing your data outside Uganda.
I see.
You know the battle between US and China, control personal data and all that. The more data you have, the more control you have over many things, okay? So many of the, much of the data that is collected in these African countries is stored in USA and China. And you know these countries, especially USA, USA doesn't have a consolidated federal privacy law. It's only a few states that have privacy laws like California, Texas is coming up, Nevada is coming up, but they don't have a consolidated federal law. So many of these companies that store their data in USA, it's very dangerous because it's there is a risk of misusing the data.
Let's also bring in Baker Birikuja. Baker, he says if you are actually dealing with an international firm and cases are your data is being stored somewhere else out of Uganda, it will be endangered. But even here domestically, a company could be storing data right here locally in Uganda, but still sharing it with our intelligence security agencies. You understand what I'm trying to get to right now. Is it also a problem we should be discussing, sharing of information with security agencies, minus getting to this individual where the information was gotten from? Is it also part of the discussion?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Romeo. I should add, thank you for the report, Unwanted Witness. So clearly it's one of those, you know, to be able to let people know that at least people are looking out for this matter. We live in a globalized world, I should add that, you know, in communication and the services that we receive. Transfer of this personal data to other countries, it's not prohibited per se. But rather what the law is saying is that before only transfer this information if you're to transfer it to a country that has similar levels of protection and adequacy as provided by our Data Protection and Privacy Act. And why do we say that? One, the same as it is with our law that we just talked about, someone can complain and then you bring the complaint to the company and even us. If you to take that information to a country that does not have similar provisions, that means in case it is misused, then the person who is living in Uganda cannot be able to enforce their rights.
Domestically, here in Uganda, even in the wake of a law, data protection law, you do have local companies that are mining data, keeping it or storing it locally here in Uganda, but are selling it to our security agencies. How harmful is that? Without notifying me.
I don't know that you have evidence that it's sold to the security.
Telecommunication companies. Indeed.
But in case you have the evidence, please present it to us, because we are here to hear you out.
Baker know very well they are tapping phone calls, and at some point they are sharing the information with the government. But largely away from that, what is the government doing to ensure data safety?
What the government is doing, that's a very good question. Number one, we are asking every person, institution or public body collecting and using personal data to register with us. This registration is the initial step to assist them in achieving compliance with the law. Because when you register with us, we take you through the process of understanding which information you collect. Because someone will tell you, oh, I just collect information from my customers, but we tell them, you also collect information from your suppliers, but then also your employees, because your employees also, they are individuals, living individuals. So we take them through that process. We give them a certificate about how long it is kept, with whom it's shared with. Then, so that way, we are guiding companies, to get back to your question, how we are ensuring safety. That we have a declaration, a person stating that actually the information I've given you is correct and true. So later on, in case there is a breach, we come in and audit. We can audit on our own accord or when someone makes a complaint. So if we find that you're actually contravening the provisions of the law, the officers of that, every officer of that institution or public body can be prosecuted in courts of law. But even the company itself, a fine can be levied by still the courts. It can even go up to 2% of the annual gross turnover of the company. So, and of course, there are other modes of remedy provided for in the law. In case a person gets anguish and those other then aspects of compensation come in, the court can be able to levy them.
All right, Becca Birikuja, Manager Licensing and Legal Affairs, that is at the Personal Data Protection Office. Let me also give some parting shots to Alan Sempala. Alan Sempala, why should the viewer who is watching Morning at NTV clamor for the Friday Symposium on data?
One, for them to understand that their privacy matters.
Indeed.
Their privacy matters. You see, all of us have that yearning for privacy.
Indeed.
And it's the reason why we have fences on our homes. And some of us, it's the reason why we go for homes. If we are renting, it's the reason why we go for homes that have fences. Because you want to limit who comes into your personal space. You know, privacy, it's protection of personal space. Okay, where data protection comes in, it provides the limitations on how far you can go with encroaching on someone's personal space. So your personal space matters. So whoever collects your personal data should ensure that that data is protected, it's used transparently, it's fairly collected and lawfully collected. So I'll give you an example briefly.
Yes.
You all remember what happened to Honorable Namboze, Betty Namboze. She wakes up in the night and someone is standing in her bedroom.
Indeed.
That is scary. It's like going back home after a very busy day, closing your bedroom, you find someone in your bedroom.
I hear you.
That can freak you out.
How did they get entry into my house?
How did you enter
How did
here?
they
Who
know
are
that
you?
at such a
You
time
get
I
my
would
point.
be in the house? Indeed.
So that analogy applies to, again, a company using your personal data without your knowledge.
Indeed.
If you're mining my data, you ought to ask for my permission.
And that is reason as to why you should clamor for the Data and Privacy Symposium that is going to be taking center stage this Friday, courtesy of the stakeholders that want to ensure that your privacy is actually ensured, your data is protected. Thank you very much, Becca Birikuja, the manager licensing and also legal affairs at Data Protection, Personal Data Protection Office, and also Alan Chigozi Sempala. Please send my regards to Ivan Chimli Chigozi.
Thank you.
You're still watching Morning at NTV. We do have a lot more in store for you. Stephen Imbide is on standby shortly.